Hello, this is Chala Dincoy, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert. Welcome to another edition of the Naked Marketing Podcast. Welcome, Steve Anderson, who is so matching today.
My pleasure, Chala. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So tell us what you do and who you help.
So I've spent my career in the insurance industry, and for the last 25 years, I have helped insurance agents and brokers, mostly in North America, with technology. So wide range, websites, social, right, all the stuff coming at them, how to understand it, how to select it, how to implement it, and get the maximum value out of it.
So you're not the guy who sold insurance, but you actually supported
Well,
them.
earlier in my career, I did actually sell insurance, absolutely. And but I would say fell in love with technology, and I understand the industry so well. I was able to translate the technology to business owners and saying, okay, do this, but don't do that. Those kinds of things. So that's what I've done for the last 20 plus years.
So you were not the kind of IT support that was like, my mouse broke.
No,
You know,
I call them break fix guys, right? They keep the printer running, but I did not do that. It was really much more strategy, what technology to use, what not to use, when to implement it, and how to get the maximum value out of it. So much more from a strategic. Actually, you can think of it as a CIO. Right. So chief information officer really is more of a strategy person than the tactical piece.
So how did that translate to what you're doing now?
So, it really started with a observation, I would say, that because technology is moving so rapidly, and especially over the last several years, that the biggest risk businesses face is actually not taking enough risk. And that led me on a reading journey, research journey, looking at a variety of businesses who had done it well, right? Made some transitions well, and those that hadn't. And certainly the hadn'ts are, pretty well known now, Blockbuster and BlackBerry and Sears and, lots of examples. The ones that had done it well is where I came across Amazon. And very specifically, then the letters that Jeff Bezos wrote to shareholders starting in 1997.
I love that. We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Tell us about the book.
So the book is an examination of letters that he wrote starting in 1997. So Amazon went public that year, and he started writing a letter to shareholders. That's not that unusual. A lot of CEOs do that. What I found unusual is how much information he gave in those letters about how he planned on it to grow and how it did grow. And that's where I came up with 14 principles to grow your business like Amazon. And I actually believe those principles apply to any business of almost any size. So big, small, there are principles there that Amazon has used and Bezos has used that I think other businesses can learn from.
So are you consulting about these 14 principles now?
I am.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am.
So, and how do they affect, I know we want people to get the book instead of you telling, but what's the most important one that you use when you're helping clients?
The answer to that question is, that's like asking me which of my 7 grandchildren I love most.
You have 7?
I have 7, yes.
Oh my God.
So they're 14, they're a lot, and they each stand on their own, but they also interact with one another. So it really depends on where the business is at. And I've grouped those principles into 4 cycles: test, build, accelerate, and scale.
Okay.
And depending on where a business is at, kind of in those cycles, somewhat depends on which principles might apply or they might resonate with best. So it really depends on the business. And even the very largest business go through all of those cycles, right? If you've got a new product, a new service, a new division, new something, you're testing to find out if it's going to work or not with your customers. And then you're building it once you get some positive results, and then you're accelerating that growth. And then you have all the problems around scaling, right? How do we scale that up and keep the idea or that mindset that got us going?
That's great. So, I mean, I'm just so curious. How do your clients find you? Is it like they find the book and then they find you, or are you doing other stuff?
Well, I still do stuff in the insurance industry, so
Oh,
that piece of it's there.
okay.
But yes, I would say primarily people find me through the book, and then read the book, and the book resonates with them, and then following up, either contacting me or getting on a newsletter I have, or some things like that. To, again, in marketing, right? What do? You build that relationship a bit over time. And then I have other kind of one-on-one, some digital products of specific tools that Amazon has used that businesses could implement, and some things like that.
So I'm just so curious about the marketing mistake, because the name of the podcast is Naked Marketing, and the reason for that is because you have to get kind of vulnerable. In
Right.
fact, some people have said, "I won't." I'm
I
sorry.
don't want to be on it. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to be exactly. And they're like, I don't want to talk about my mistakes, or I haven't made any mistakes. That's what they say. So I'm really curious to hear what you have experienced in your career.
Well, I would say, let's keep it in the book. So I have lots of mistakes. So, over the years, I would say. Um, and again, here's how I would phrase it, for me at least. The first principle in the test cycle is called encourage successful failure, right?
Okay.
So are they mistakes? Yes, but what do you do with that? What's that next step? How do you learn from it and take what you've learned and do something better the next time? Um, so I'm trying to give a short background. I have a couple of friends, and my wife is in the book publishing business. And one of her favorite phrases for authors is, you don't make money on the book. You make money on what the book makes possible. And so I would say around the book was not, the mistake was not being as aggressive early on in capturing names. And I did some things, but for example, there's a couple of pages in the book that lead to a workbook that people can download from the website that helps them actually work through for their own business what they can do. But then, so I got names, but then I didn't follow up with them as well as I should have, in terms of, again, developing that relationship and being able to offer other services to them, again, to, like you said, to help them actually do something with the information, not just, oh, that was a nice book.
So it's really, what I'm noting is not building a list and strategy for the list aggressively
Yeah.
was the problem. Okay,
Yep.
that is great. So because we talked about the summit, this is going to be rolled into a mistake summit. One of the people that I talked to, one of the guests said, I am a mistake. I'd love to be in that summit. My wife would agree with you. I thought that was so funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
mistake summit. So that's the list that you've cultivated now. That you're talking about, that you failed to build at the start, right?
Correct. And so again, what did I learn? I'm in the process now of re-engaging that list, warming it back up, right? And developing, building, other services that I can provide for those that might be interested.
That's fabulous. How long have you had the list?
So the book was published in the fall of 19.
Mhm.
And again, one of my purposes for the book was to position me in a larger or a broader business environment, not just my narrow insurance agent niche, which I'm pretty well known in. And that was working quite well. I was had speaking engagements, keynotes and things like that. And of course, what happened in 2020, right? All of that shut down. And
Yeah.
so I would say it was a mistake, and circumstances were difficult. And so I had to, took me, I would say a little while, maybe too long, to pivot a bit in terms of my thinking of, okay, so I'm not going to be out speaking, because that also is a great lead gen, right? So if I'm in an audience and, I can give them good information and they want more, that would have built better. But then I didn't have that. So I had to regroup and figure out, okay, what else can I do that's not in person? So,
Hey, so then you went digital. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I lost all my income because I'm in Canada. I don't know where
uh-huh.
are you?
Nashville,
Oh, you're so
Nashville, Tennessee.
lucky. You're so lucky.
We love it here. Yes. But
Oh, I was scheduled to come on TV in Nashville, and then they closed the borders. That's
yep.
how, like, I was gonna be there for a big conference. I was at the, what is it, the Grand Old Opry, or
Grand Old Opry. Yep.
yeah, and
Yep.
it was a hotel like that's supposed to be really historic that I was like,
Opryland Hotel. Yep. Absolutely.
unbelievable. I
Yep.
have a room there. They're still holding it. They're still holding it, Steve. I don't know if you live close to there, but I'm gonna.
30 minutes. Yeah. 30
You are?
minutes.
My God, I am coming as soon as the borders are lifted. So anyway, I lost all my income because I used to speak at those conferences.
Right.
And then I had to figure out a whole way to, how am I going to go? And I learned how to do LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did, same as you. So we're all in the same boat. I'm so curious, Jeff so well, Jeff
I have
Bezos.
not met him, unfortunately. I hope to someday, but I feel like I have done a deeper dive than most people into trying to
That's
understand
great.
how he thinks.
That
So
is really great. So I bet he would envy your hair. I bet he would have hair envy. What is the biggest marketing mistake that you think he's made?
um, well, interestingly, actually, probably quite a few.
Really?
Yes. And again, that's one of Amazon's secret sauces, I would say, or secrets, is they are not afraid to try things and fail.
Yeah.
And so um, I, I have to talk about the Fire phone. So most people don't know that Amazon actually created a phone, mobile phone.
Oh.
Jeff got up on stage in New York City, Fire phone, announced it. It was his pet project. This is the next great thing. And lots of detail, but fast forward to 6 months later, they started selling it for 99 cents and they couldn't give it away. Because again, think about it. We already had an iPhone, came out in 2007. We already had an Android. For those, I mean, people had already chosen really their platforms.
Yeah.
Hard to change. Why would I get an Amazon phone? Well, it was designed to shop on Amazon better. Well, so what, right?
Yeah.
So again, cool technology. The marketing mistake is not understanding actually the client needs and what they would want.
Boy,
But
Steve.
here's the other interesting thing, and I go back to my encourage successful failure principle. 4 months after the Fire phone was announced, Bezos got his first demonstration from that same team. It's called Lab 126, their hardware team. That's where the Kindle came out of, and they got he got this first demonstration for this cylinder that would sit on a table that you could ask a question to, and it would respond.
Very
Okay,
nice.
so again, now we've obviously come to know it as Echo and Alexa, but all of that learning that they did to create that voice processing with the phone, they were able to transition that over into the Echo. And again, I create a very successful product.
Very nice. I gotta tell you, do you have an Echo in every room?
Oh, just about, yes.
Oh my God. And don't they pick up each other?
Yes.
Isn't that hilarious?
Yep.
And then imagine having a daughter named Alexa.
Actually, I have a friend that does. And he said it's a real problem, right?
Yeah,
Because
it is. It
yeah,
really is.
it is a real
Hilarious. I
problem.
know. Poor Alexa. I know. So, I mean, tell us where we can get the book. Obviously,
So
you know
yeah,
where.
Well, obviously on Amazon, I guess.
Yeah.
And the website, if you get the book, again, there are resources there, a workbook. There's actually also an assessment that short, quick, that I put together to help you understand your risk profile. Because actually, I think Jeff Bezos is the master of risk because of how he uses risk strategically to grow. And I
Oh,
think that was the kind of a key foundational idea. But that assessment will give you your risk tolerance
mhm.
as a business owner and direct you to some principles that might make sense for you based on some information that we gather there. So that's free, no cost at all to that. And that's at thebezosletters.com.
Perfect. I was just going to ask you where we can reach you.
Yep.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for being such an interesting guest.
Charlotte, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. All the best.